Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And here we are at the very top of the show. This is a Saturday recording, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we are all over the place. We're loose and free with our recording nights.
There's no set day anymore, Tim. I can't tell you the last time we actually recorded on a Wednesday.
Or maybe it was last week. I can't remember. I mean, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, it's all going on.
Oh, well, we get it done. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. But anyhow, here at the very top of the show, I'm going to hand it over to Joy because I think she's got some music news type stuff for you.
Well, I have one little thing I wanted to talk about and then one kind of minor thing. I guess they go together. So did you see that Kiss, the band, has sold its catalog and brand for $300 million?
Yes, I saw that. Now, it doesn't surprise me because, you know, Kiss are all about making the money. And maybe they thought selling it for $300 million was more money that they can make in the rest of their lifetimes.
Or maybe they're just kind of over it and they've made plenty. So what's 300 million more? I don't know. But with that being said, they have sold it. They reached a deal with a Swedish entertainment group. Swedish got the Kiss, just so you guys know, which is not surprising. The buyer, Pop House Entertainment Group, collaborated with Kiss last year to create digital avatars of Kiss members. And this specifically was Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Tommy Thayer, and Eric Singer. So not your original, but that, you know, the current lineup. And for their farewell tour in Madison Square Garden last December. And basically they just said, we're going to work together with Universal and Kiss. We're going to own all the rights to all of their music. And they have plans to do a biopic.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you know, there is a huge fan base for Kiss. And it seems to be very popular at the moment to sell all the rights to your music for incredibly large sums of money. There was some talk about Queen doing the same, and it was going to be $1 billion or $500 million or something like that. But I mean, that hasn't transpired as of yet. But, you know, cashing out of Kiss for $300 million. I mean, you know, they're all in their 70s. They couldn't even spend that much if they wanted to.
It's true. It's just says, and Paul Stanley was quoted as saying, we are not going to tour again as Kiss, period. We're not going to put on the makeup and go out there. We're going to collaborate and share ideas with this new company, but that's it.
Yeah, you know, Kiss is done. I mean, you know, they've been done before and they went, oh, we're going to come back. But, you know, I think they're all at a point in their lives where they're very much older. And it's
I don't think that they see that eye to eye anymore either.
Well, I think Gene and Paul do. I mean, they're like business partners. The other two guys I don't think they're actually members of Kiss. I think
Not officially,
they're salaried employees. I think.
Yeah. Well, my thing is like Gene's had some weird standoffish things that have happened in the last few years. Now, that was kind of my little music, whatever. But I did want to tell you, I thought this was funny. Levi's stock has went up 20%, boosted by one Beyonce song in the last week, Tim.
Oh, really?
Yep. And Paul McCartney, I don't know if you saw, I shared it. He praised Beyonce over her Blackbird cover we talked about last week.
Yeah, he put a thing on all his social media things saying how much he liked it. He said that it sort of played into the civil rights message, of which is one of the reasons he wrote the song. And then he said, you know, I just got on FaceTime and had a chat with Beyonce. It's like, yeah. Paul McCartney knows FaceTime. It's fantastic.
It is kind of weird to think about. That didn't even register with me. But I mean, I guess if he does it, he has somebody with him who stuck the phone in his face.
Well, I know that Ringo knows how to text because Steve Lukather from Toto is best friends with Ringo. And apparently he wakes up most mornings and Ringo has sent him a text with some kind of salty, inappropriate joke. And apparently Steve Lukather and Ringo enjoy that kind of humor. And he said it just blows my mind. I wake up and I have a text from Ringo. He said, he says, how does this work? He said, you know, 1 minute I'm watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, the next minute Ringo's sending me a joke in a text. How does that work?
The world is a strange place.
Exactly.
All right, Tim. Well, what do you have for the people?
Okay, well, it's another Swedish music thing because, you know, the Swedes and their music, you know, everything in Sweden is to do with music, it appears.
Apparently.
Well, anyhow, ABBA are celebrating 50 years since the song Waterloo, or very specifically, them performing Waterloo on the Eurovision Song Contest.
I mean, that's one of my favorite ABBA songs. I sing it regularly. It lives rent free in my head. And it's got some historical pieces that are correct. Me and Charlie were just discussing Waterloo the other day. So there you go.
Yeah, my at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender, and I have met my destiny in quite a similar way. That's
My
the
mind.
opening line.
I know. My brain randomly. And there's a drink. There's like, because Tim and I both like seltzer waters. There's one that's called Waterloo brand that you can get.
Hmm.
And every time I see it, I start singing that song. If they haven't done a commercial with that, they're missing an opportunity, though. I don't know how expensive it is to get ABBA music in your commercials.
I don't know, but as we've said before, Benny and Bjorn have a printing press in their house. Well, they print Swedish krona, just
I
they're just
mean,
knocking that stuff out. But yeah, in 1974 Eurovision Song Contest, they performed Waterloo there, and then they won the Eurovision Song Contest. Interestingly, that the song contest was held in England that year, and it took
mhm.
place in Brighton. I don't know if you've ever been to Brighton.
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I,
it's a coastal resort in England.
yeah, well, there you go. Now I've got that song stuck in my head. Thanks, Tim. All right. Did you have something else you wanted to bring up?
No, that's all I have at the
Okay.
very beginning of the show.
Well, I want to wish Hannah, aka Tim's wife, a delayed happy birthday because she just celebrated it, and she won't hear this episode for like 4 weeks. So
Well,
there you go.
when we finish recording, I will go downstairs and I will make sure I pass on your warmest regards for her birthday.
All right. So I gave myself an extra challenge with this topic because this is a topic we have done before, but I was not allowed to do any of the songs that were in the previous one, and I think I did it. If
Okay.
there's a duplicate, oh, sue me, whatever. I tried my hardest because I went back and looked at what we talked about in the last episode. This is about money.
Okay.
Tim, I think like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, was having a moment in his life where he felt like everything in his life was money, right? Like you just had to spend money. And that's me currently. I feel like every time I turn around, Tim, I'm spending money on stuff. So I picked a slew of songs about money. It could be money or wealth or not having money, et cetera, et cetera. I had to take some creative liberties because I couldn't do like Dire Straits or Money Talks because Tim already hit all those.
Yeah, we had a period of time a year or so ago when we had to put a new roof on the house. We had car repairs. We had something. And every time you tripped over, it's like, oh look, there's something else we have to pay out for. And we had a very very strict spending lockdown, and we're almost through that. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there.
Well, I feel you on that, Tim. I feel like every time I turn around, money is just leaving my bank account. So, with that being said, let's discuss songs about money. Now, I have picked, I think there's about 18 songs I went through. Most of them are, some of them are a little obscure, but I think Tim would know most of them. And then one is one that no one is going to know, but I thought was super interesting. I wanted to talk about it. So, with that being said, the first one we're going to talk about is a completely random one that nobody would expect me to know, but I do know this song. This is Rage Against the Machine, and it's Sleep Now in the Fire. Are you familiar with this song, Tim?
Is that from the first Rage Against the Machine album, the one that has the guy on fire? Is it from that album?
Good question. I don't know. This is the one where they worked with Michael, what is his name? The Michael Moore. They did
Hmm.
like a whole thing where they went and stood out in front of the stock market.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. I think I know exactly what you're talking
It's
about.
called, yeah, they shot up like they did like an actual documentary called Sleep Now in the Fire in front of the New York Stock Exchange, and apparently it almost caused a riot. Police took Moore away in front of them, like had to take him away because there was so much going on and people were rioting. And basically, in the video, in the music video, they're making fun of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the TV show.
Hmm.
And it's got like fake questions, and it's just all humorous. And it's basically just kind of talking about the idea of capitalism being ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember Tom Morello talking about this. Now, as I said before, Rage Against the Machine are a really good band, and Tom Morello in particular has a very unique approach on the guitar.
Hmm.
He is like the DJ, if you will, and he's a great guitar player. He played in Bruce Springsteen's band. I mean,
Yeah.
he can play anything that he wants to play. But he's famous for making sound effects and scratching noises and staccato stuff and sounds and weird stuff. And I don't
Playing
know,
with things.
and in Rage Against the Machine, it really works.
Well, and they're one of those bands I'm not going to say I'm an expert on. I can't name like their albums or anything, but I am familiar with this song, and when it comes out, I like to listen to it.
Hmm.
Um, I've never watched the documentary, and I guess I should just out of curiosity. But I like if you've never watched the music video where they're making fun of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that's pretty good. Was there a UK version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I assume there was because I remember seeing it. It's like a universal thing.
Yeah, do you know what it was called?
Who wants to be a I can't actually quib. I don't know what.
No, it was called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Oh, I thought it was going to be a play on British money or something.
Well, they gave out pounds.
Yeah. Well, I assume that, but if you use the word pound in that sentence, Tim, I don't think it's going to sound the way you want it to, and I'm going to leave it at that. That's why I stop myself whenever I want to say that. But anyway. All right. Now, this is a great song that I kind of had forgot, and it probably will be playing in a CVS at any moment because
well, of course. I'd imagine every one of these songs, including Rage Against the Machine, is currently playing in a CVS somewhere.
The irony of that being played in like capitalist society as a whole at a CVS. I picked Electric Light Orchestra, Easy Money.
Yeah, that is a great track. And the Electric Light Orchestra, they seem to have, certainly in the UK, sort of a late career renaissance. And I think they're officially called Jeff Lynne's Electric Light Orchestra at this point. Oh. I think if you go and see them, it's not just the Electric Light Orchestra. But they were sort of 70s around, that's when they came out.
Yeah.
And I always remember that sort of being music on and around when I was much younger.
Well, I feel like they were super popular in the UK first, and then they kind of had like you're right. I think there is a renaissance. Like there's more people into them, and they're kind of like Deep Purple. There's like a cult following of people who are really into ELO.
It seems to be. I mean, there's a guy. I'm not sure I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I've got him on Instagram, and he's a listener of the Rock Solid podcast, which is another podcast I listen to, and he loves ELO. And there's one ELO album he's got, 50 copies of the same album in every pressing variation and every country and every format and all this kind of stuff.
I mean, I've listened to a lot of their music. I feel like they're a forgotten band that's not talked about, but they had a lot of radio hits. Like you wouldn't, even if you don't think you know any of their music, you do because you've heard it 1,000 times on every radio station ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wondered, I've heard cool things about their concert, but I've never really thought to go. I probably would, though, if they came close to us, Tim. I think that'd be a fun concert.
Yeah, I very much doubt they would come anywhere here. I know they performed at Wembley Stadium because I stumbled across a live concert of Jeff Lynne's ELO from Wembley Stadium. And I was surprised that they were playing at Wembley Stadium. And, everyone in the audience seemed to know it was having a great time. As I said, I think they had a late career renaissance maybe in the last 10 years or so.
Well, there you go. And if there's somebody who's a diehard ELO fan and me and Tim are missing something obvious, let us know as to why they became famous again. Now, the next one is also one that this is a band Tim's familiar with, but it's not one of their biggest hits, but I have a feeling he'll know this song. This is Everything Counts by Depeche Mode.
Yes, I'm very familiar with this song. I don't know. I would call this one of their biggest hits, maybe. I don't know.
I didn't think so. I mean, I hear it, but I don't know. When I hear Depeche Mode, maybe it's because all their songs sound pretty similar with that synthetic opening and just like the beats and stuff, Tim. I don't know.
Well, you think like the early hits, like Just Can't Get Enough, for example.
Yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
And there's that song of the name completely escapes me, where the video was filmed in Hounslow in Woolworths.
What?
Have I ever told you that before?
No, I didn't know that.
So in Hounslow High Street, which is good for our international listeners who've never been to Hounslow High Street, Hounslow High Street was Woolworths. And Woolworths in the UK used to be a general store, and it's very similar to Target. However, Target in the United States is a very big, successful business, and lots of people go into Target, and it sells stuff that you wanted to buy. Woolworths had a similar product mix. However, they seemed to create a product mix that nobody wanted to buy.
So they're like a Kmart more of it.
I suppose it's very similar to a Kmart. But one thing that they were very famous for was pick and mix, if you know what pick and mix is.
Is that the thing where like you pick different foods and like they total up or whatever? I've seen that being popular in the UK. Like 5 things for 50. Never mind. Then I have no idea what you're talking about.
Pick and mix is small sweets, or as you would say, candy. Like maybe some little chocolate or maybe, little boiled sweets or whatever like that. And then you'd go up to the stand and have like dozens and dozens of little boxes of them, and then you put them in a bag, and then you weigh the bag.
Five
and
Below has those. Yeah. Okay.
And then you purchase the loose candy by a quarter of a pound, and then it has a price per quarter. But of course, what happens is a load of kids go in and they just pull it out of the things and start eating it. Or the other thing is you do as an adult when you buy pick and mix. When when you're a kid, you may have a much smaller budget. But maybe as an adult, you think, well, I'm an adult. I work a proper job. Maybe let me just go with the pick and mix. So you go to the pick and mix, you just shovel in this stuff in, and then you weigh it, and you go, uh-oh, that's 42 pounds.
That seems like an experience that may have happened, Tim. That's a very specific.
maybe that's happened in the past. But anyhow, Woolworths, the retailer, they didn't make it. And they famously went bust. And I think they went bust while I lived in England. I think so. It was sort of 2009, 2010, something like that. Anyway, they went bust.
Right after that, whenever everybody was in a financial, basically the second Great Depression.
That certainly didn't help. But, the business hadn't been doing well for some time.
That when Kmart went out of order, too.
Yeah. But the Hounslow store was a huge flagship store. It was seen as like, the next generation of Woolworths. It was huge, had lots of different concepts in it, still had the restaurant, had the massive pick and mix, had all the brands, massive thing. And you could walk through it from Hounslow High Street into the back of the Treaty Centre. Now, obviously, that means nothing to anyone that's ever been there. But
I'll take your word for it.
But before they refurbished it in the 80s, Depeche Mode filmed a pop video in Woolworths.
I gave it a goog. Everybody, I'm beating on the table if you heard me. I had to turn my camera off for a second. So Tim's probably like, what's Joy doing over there? But it's See You by Depeche Mode. And it was released in January 1982. So January of 1982, Tim, is when they did this.
Okay. And it must have been shortly after Woolworths opened. The whole flagship store thing was very much later. But and then we are seeing 1982, Depeche Mode were in Hounslow.
I Googled Depeche Mode, Hounslow. And it says Hounslow Underground. And I do know this song. I've seen it. I've seen the video, and the inside of the video, it makes me think of like a J.C. Penney when I see it in this music video. Yeah. My camera is not having it today, Tim. Y'all, I'm beating on the tables, so if I look blurry, Tim, I'm sorry in advance.
No, that's fine, and I'm sure our audio-only podcast listeners
cares.
No, I'm sure they're listening right now, going, "Why is Joy so blurry?
Exactly,
I can't see her clearly."
Exactly. But if you guys were wondering about, if you're not familiar with this song, the song talks about grabbing everything counts in large amounts. So that's how it relates to money.
Yeah, I have a very vivid memory of that song. So one time I was in Sweden many years ago, and I was driving from Jönköping. I think it was to somewhere in the southwest of Sweden. I can't remember. It was a big, long road trip in a rented car. And, of course, this was before CDs and or iPods were invented, or cassettes, obviously.
Or MP3 players or anything.
Or any kind of music medium. So I didn't have anything with me. So we had the radio on in the car, and then they had a Depeche Mode concert on Swedish radio. And I remember them playing this song. And I don't know, when I hear this song, I think of that car journey in Sweden.
I think of that synthetic bass line that they have in a lot of their songs. It's like a synth kind of thing.
Yeah, they're like a synth pop band. I mean, they've had some very strong songs over the years, and maybe I need to look a little bit more into the Depeche Mode catalog, because as we've said before, Depeche Mode fans really love Depeche Mode.
Mm-hmm. That's another band, kind of like ELO. But now my brain just keeps going, I just can't get enough. That's all I could hear.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, I dug a little bit deeper for these songs than the surface level. This one is one that I didn't even know was about music, and I may have used the Google machine to find it. But this song is called, and Tim, I think you're going to be familiar with it because it's one of their bigger hits. It's Danny's song by Loggins and Messina.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's about a guy who's smiling, happy. He says he wrote it about Danny's actually his brother. Kenny Loggins says it's actually his brother, and it's about settling down, starting a family. In the border, you bring a tear to my eye, and so I kind of took some creative liberties because it talks about like getting a house and stuff. So you need to have money, Tim.
Yeah, you have to be fiscally responsible to purchase a house.
And I think there is a library that says we ain't got no money on it or something like that. So that's kind of why I picked this one. Loggins and Messina, though, is this interesting group, and I know who they are. We've talked about them a lot, on the podcast. But I forget they exist. Like I've heard their music, but I don't associate it with them, and I don't associate it with Kenny Loggins for some reason. It's like a weird, like blank spot in my brain.
Yeah, they're one of these acts that I would call the super sounds of the 70s. I mean, of course,
It's
you've got
definitely in a CVS.
yeah, 100%. And you've got Kenny Loggins, famously Footloose, and that Caddyshack song that we spoke about before. But Jim Messina had his own career, and I have a Jim Messina album in my collection. Now, if I'm being totally honest, the reason I have that album in my collection is one of the tracks on it is on a Knight Rider episode.
That's fair. I'll give you that, Tim. That's very on brand. Well, I don't know. I will say it's just like I know they exist. I know there was a time period, but for some reason I never like searched them out, but I hear them on the radio. And I also think a lot of their music has been used in movies from the 80s and 70s, so that's probably why too.
Yeah, and I think their music has been covered by other people as well. I think their songwriting is held in high regard.
Yep. So I will step into this saying I do not expect Tim to know this. I didn't know this existed. If he does, I'm going to be thoroughly excited because this is very random. Very random. This song, and I'll explain why I picked it because that's an interesting story, is Frank Crumpet. Crumpet. I don't know if it's with a C. It's like Crumpet, but without the P.
Okay.
Whatever this guy's name is. And it's the Tale of the Ticker. And it's known as the 1929 stock market song. So when you listen to it, it sounds like this little piggy goes to the market. This little piggy, it's like kind of playing on that. But basically, it was published right before the crash of Wall Street in October of 1929. And basically foreshadowed and came like all of it was foreshadowing for what actually happened. Like he wrote the song, it came out before the stock market crashed, but it's about the stock market crashing. And so it has really interesting, like it's like this little piggy went to the market where they buy and sell the stocks. This little piggy came home with a system full of stocks or whatever. I don't know. It's like a whole little thing, but I thought it was interesting. He wrote this song and it basically predicted the stock market crashing. I mean, there had to be indicators it was coming, but it's still interesting.
It is interesting, and yet again, up to date, up to the minute music from the No Name Music Cast. I mean, that is a song was almost 100 years old, 94 years old or something.
Well, we all need to know this. Now, here's a real question everyone needs to know. So I know nursery rhymes are not generally universal. Like we all know, like the French one. Everybody knows that at this point. And London Bridge is falling down. Does this little piggy go to the market? Was that a thing in the UK?
This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy ate roast beef. This little piggy had none. This little piggy did something else, and this little piggy went wee 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 all the way home.
Okay, so it is a universal nursery rhyme, and you guys didn't say some weird thing instead of roast beef.
Well, as we said, we know the hokey cokey and the hokey pokey, but I think this little piggy is universal. I mean, we have listeners all over the world. Other English-speaking countries, any listeners in South Africa or Singapore or wherever?
We do have those.
Yeah, let us know. Is this little piggy universal? We would love to find out. Canada, wherever.
And is it like a direct translation in your language? Like, was there something that changed? So is there any nursery rhymes from the UK that you don't think is an American nursery rhyme, Tim?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't spend a lot of time reciting or thinking about nursery rhymes.
That's fair. I mean, you probably should. Never know when your nursery rhyme skills will come in handy.
I mean, is this a future episode? We can do an episode on nursery rhymes.
There was this one, I don't know if this is a universal one. It's like Miss Mary Mac Mac Mac, all dressed in black, black, black. Do you remember that, Tim?
No.
That one's one of the ones that goes with like a little handshake. It's like Miss Mary back. That nobody can see the handshake I'm doing. But anyway, if you know that, it's like with silver buttons, buttons, buttons all down her back, back, back. Okay. And you would like do like your handshake on the timing of the music. That's why it's repeating itself.
I want to ask a question. When you was at school, did you sing hippie weird songs in assembly, or is that a UK 1970s
No,
thing.
that was a UK 19th. I wasn't in American school in the 70s, so I can't get out for that. But in the 90s, we were not singing a hippie song.
We used to sing like my grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf and little boxes on the hillside. And I like to teach the world to sing. No.
No, no. I mean, the only thing I recognize from that is that I would like to teach the world to sing part. Now, we did go to this conference. Now, I did grow up in a religious household. I'm not going to get into that, but we went to this conference for one of the church my mom was a part of, and it was actually kind of fun because they had like musicians. And to start them, Tim, they would make us sing like different songs like that, like the whole conference would. And I remember they would play like with like songs you knew and add little funny adverbs and like different things. So
Yeah.
that's the closest I got.
Yeah, maybe it was a Grove Road School Hounslow thing in 1977. I don't know. I was looking on the internet about Grove Road Primary School, which is where I went in Hounslow, which curiously enough was on Grove Road. And I'd heard several people talking about the weird hippie songs we had to sing in our assembly.
I mean, we had a school song. Did you guys have like a school song?
No.
Oh gosh, ours went, Dear Grayson County, how we love thy name. We will honor, love, and cherish. Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah,
It's very weird.
is that like your school spirit song?
Yeah, it was our fight song, I guess is what they would call it. And the band had like a little da 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 that would play with it. Yeah, anyway. I don't know who wrote it or where it came from, but everybody in my school knew it.
Well, the thing is, like at Lambton School, there was no school song. And you know, the thing that gets me, the thing I don't understand, having
Yeah.
gone through secondary education from the years 13 to 16 or 17 or when is it I left,
Yeah.
here, like every high school has a band, a marching band. Now, I think of all the
compete.
people, like the school I went to, I don't know how many pupils it had. 500, 600, something like that. I don't know. It was a reasonably large size comprehensive school.
Yeah.
There isn't enough people interested in playing music to have a band like that, even if you wanted one. How do these schools sustain having enough people to be in a marching band and that know how to play?
So what they do is they get you when you're young. That's how they do it. So marching bands in America compete like choirs do, and that's kind of how they did it. So I remember marching band, if you wanted to be in marching band in elementary school, what you'd probably call primary school, your first grade. So you were 6 years old. They would ask you if you were interested, and they would send a permission slip home with your parents. And then they would, and you know, at 6 years old, you're like, oh, that sounds cool. Because it's a great way to get it. You would get to leave out of class and go do marching band instead of like learn math. So they would pull you when you were like 6, and your parents would have to buy you like a trumpet or something, you know, you carried to school with you every day. I never did that because I was already taking piano lessons outside of school and I wasn't interested in marching band. I was interested in getting into singing. But that was my thing. But that's how they do it. In all the elementary schools, they start you in like first grade and then you learn all the basics. Because, you know, if you really want to learn an instrument, you got to start young, like to do it really well, right? Tim, we can agree with that. Same thing with foreign language or anything. I was already taking piano lessons. So I was like, nah, I'm good. And so, but a bunch of my friends did it. And basically, there was like a catalog. You could order whatever instrument you wanted from. You'd take it to school every day. You'd spend 30 minutes every day, first grade. And then when you got to high school, you're pretty much, you know, pretty good at learning because you've been doing it since you were 6. And that's how they did it. And all those people would go into marching band. They start you young, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in primary school, you could pick out instruments you wanted to play, and I decided I wanted to play the euphonium, which is like a small tuba, simply because it was massive, and that's the only reason I wanted to play it. But it was sort of an optional thing, and it wasn't really pushed.
Yeah, no, it's a big thing, and I actually really think it's a good thing because I love seeing that many people interested. But Tim's right. So, do you find more people in America that play instruments, you think, than you do in the UK?
Yeah, I would think so. And that also astounds me, random people I bump into who can play piano. I mean, I wish I could play piano, and I can't because
Like I said, they started offering it in first grade to me, Tim, in elementary school.
Yeah, that was not a thing. I mean, we had music lessons at school, secondary school, when I was 13, and that's when I decided I wanted to take up guitar, and I learned guitar there. But people just randomly playing piano or having piano lessons was not a thing. But there's so many people. Like I can think of 4 or 5 people at work who play piano. I mean, I can't play piano. I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I think that the other thing is it's common in the church too. And a
Hmm.
lot of Americans are in the church. And so there I also learned some of it from the church. Like I said, that's where I started playing the drums. But I think the piano is like the common instrument people learn in the church. So that's part of it as well. But yeah, no, in first grade, this lady came in and she like sent a little permission slip home with my parents and said, "Can we pull your Brady did it too? They pulled us out of class for about 30 minutes. My parents, this was extra cost because it wasn't marching band. My parents paid some fee to let me do it. And every day I got to take a piano lesson. And then I did that for like 2 or 3 years. And when I got to high school, we had our choir teacher had a really good pianist who would play with us.
Hmm.
And so then she offered lessons on the side. And so during the summer, I would go to her house and continue my piano lessons, and she would offer voice lessons. And that's when I started taking voice lessons. So I was getting that on top of doing choir in school.
Interesting.
And then we were into music at church. So, I mean, I also just grew up in a music household. So I was surrounded by it my whole life.
Yeah, I didn't really grow up in a music household. I'm the only person in my family that can play an instrument.
Well, there you go, guys. I learned something new. I would have I mean, I guess I never really thought about marching bands in the UK,
It's
but you
not a
don't see
thing.
them.
Not a thing.
Well, with that, we spent a lot of time talking about not money. I'm going to go with this one, and I had to bring it up. We may have talked about this for like a smidge on Tim's episode, but it wasn't one of his songs. And the only reason I want to bring it up is because I still think of that stupid commercial. It's If I Had $1 Billion by the Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah, I love this song. The Bare Naked Ladies are a fabulous band. They played in Roanoke 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't see them. And there was a funny picture because in downtown Roanoke, when they came, a bear was in downtown Roanoke and stuck up a tree, and the fire department had to come and rescue it. And there's a funny picture of the Bare Naked Ladies in downtown Roanoke with this bear in a tree in the distance, and they're just going like, "Oh, what's going on here? I'm confused."
That's funny. So where did they play out in Roanoke? Tim, do you remember which venue it was?
I would assume it was Performing Arts Center, which is the smaller one at the Roanoke
Portland
Civic
one or
Center.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just trying to picture where a tree was.
yeah. The tree was in just somewhere in downtown.
Downtown. But yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with this song, I mean, the song just says, "If I had $1 billion, I'd buy you a house, I'd buy you a monkey, I'd buy you furniture for the house,"
Yeah.
and so on. But I always think about it because in America, and I don't understand why the New York lottery was on my TV in Virginia. I haven't figured that out because, like, most commercials are local to your area, right? But I distinctly remember this being a thing. And I Googled it because I thought I was going crazy. The New York lottery ran like this section of commercials, and it was people singing who had won lotto tickets. If I had a billion, and they were holding their lotto tickets. And it played nonstop to the point that this song like was in my brain ad nauseum. I don't
I
know
would
why.
I would imagine because the Mega Millions jackpot is across all the states
Maybe that's what it
that
is.
do the lottery. So maybe the commercial was brought to you in association with the New York lottery. But of course, the Mega Millions piece is available to every state that sort of buys into that.
Now, were they the real winners? I've never Googled it that far because I know sometimes like the real winners, do they have to make themselves publicly known? Isn't there rules on that or something, Tim?
It varies from state to state. Some states, if you win the lottery, you can be completely anonymous, and other states, when you win the lottery, your name has to be published. I think Virginia they publish the names.
Yeah. Did you know a lady in Christiansburg just won by accident, Tim?
I
Like
heard
the
that.
Mega
Yeah,
Millions or something?
Yeah,
She was trying to buy a different lotto ticket.
yeah. She tried to buy a Mega Millions and she bought a Powerball, and then the Powerball got her $1 million. But do you know what's interesting? And this might be an interesting fact for our UK listeners. So in the UK lottery, if you win £26 million or whatever it is, you get a check for £26 million, and that's where it
Okay.
is. Done. No, there's no taxes, there's no nothing. The money comes to you, you stick it in your bank account, and you move on.
Not in the US.
In the US, if you have like $100 million, for example, $100 million is an annuity. It's not the cash price. So yes, you'll get $100 million, but they divide it up by so many payments, and then every month they'll send you a check.
I'd
So
almost rather that, honestly, Tim.
well, then most people take the cash option. So the cash option is about 70% of that, 65% of that. So it's going to be less anyway. And then you have to pay income tax on it because it's classed as income. So really, any headline amount you see for the lottery, what you're going to get is about a third of that. So like if you win $1 million on the Virginia lottery, you're going to bring home about $300,000.
I mean, that would be depressing, but I'll still take the $300,000. But I really feel like I would do the annuity route. I really do, Tim. And then I'd set a little bit of the annuity to the side for taxes. And that way, I still keep my job. I still kind of live the life I live, but I just have that as like you know what I mean? An additional set of income every month.
Yeah.
That's the way I would go.
Well, it depends how much it is. I mean, if it's like a stinking rich amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm just going to have every penny that they're going to give me in one lump and I'll deal with it. The other thing is, do you know the lottery company is still going to exist in 10, 15 years' time? That's the other thing.
That is a good point. Now, I will say one thing I like about Virginia lottery, so it is state specific, as Tim was saying in the US, is that all the money they make off the tickets go to fund the public education.
That is good. That is very good.
At least the money's going to something good if you're putting money into lotto tickets.
Yeah, and I think the UK lottery, it used to be run by a company called Camelot, which supposedly was going to do good things, and then it ended up just being nonsense.
Well, they're like state programs in America, so I think that's why. You know what I mean? Like it's ran by the state itself. So
yeah.
I don't know where did they get the lot? Is it just taxes? I don't know. Like where does the lotto money come from then? If they're not. It doesn't matter.
Well, the lottery money comes from they sell more tickets than they give away.
That's true. I mean, that's true. But then how much goes to the public school education out of that? And then how much goes to it doesn't matter, guys. I need to do some lotto. Now, the more I think about it, the more questions that brings up. But anyway, so that's also why I was thinking about Buddy Tim. It's because somebody in our local town just won the other day. And I was like, I could really use that money right about now.
It would be dead handy, let me tell you.
I'd be curious to know if we know who it was. I've been like looking on my Facebook to see if anybody local is like buying a new house or cars.
Well, again, the person won $1 million, which means that they came home with a check for $300,000. Fantastic. That would be life-changing for us. I could pay our cars off. I could pay our house off. Everything would be great.
And still have a little nest egg afterwards.
Yeah, and I couldn't afford to leave my job with that. But I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic and set me up for later life. Superb. But $300,000 is not like you're going to buy a yacht and a mansion and a fleet of Ferraris and then travel the world. It's just like something that you can probably settle all the things you're involved with and have a nice life going forward.
No credit card debt anymore, basically.
Yeah, basically.
My cards are paid off. Anyway. All right. So with that being said, I picked another one. Now, this band is on my mind. Partially because of money and Funkos. So Charlie has been selling some of his Funkos, not for any particular reason. He does this periodically. Tim C, he buys and he sells because we have so many. Like we still have over 200 in my house. And so periodically he sells a bunch and then he'll buy more and then he'll sell some and he'll buy more. So I sold one today from Jerry Garcia. So it's the Grateful Dead. Somebody met me in Radford today at $30. They got to take Jerry Garcia home with them.
There we are. Fantastic. So
the song I picked, though, is Money, Money by the Grateful Dead, which is from 1974. Are you familiar with this song, Tim?
Do you know, I'm not a big Deadhead. I know a lot of like the hits, if you will, of the Grateful Dead, but it's not a song I'm actually familiar with.
Well, I didn't think I was until I played it. I have definitely heard it. It's like she wants money, what she wants, and then it's like money. But the part that stuck out to me is there's a line in it. I've never heard a line that sounds like this. It says, here she comes, finger popping, clickety click. She says, furs or diamonds, you take your pick. I've never heard anybody rhyme clickety click with you take your pick before in a song. So it stood out to me, and that's why I picked it. And then it says money about 1,000 times.
There we are. Well, at least it's not rhyming things with things.
Yeah. Well, and I think that this one is actually sung by Bob Weir, the guitarist, instead of the lead singer. Jerry Garcia is not the one singing on this one. So it stands out to a lot of people. And he wrote this song, and basically it was about the world taking his taxes and women wanting money. It wasn't that intellectual by any stretch.
Well, when you're in a band, I mean, a lot of your work will be cash in hand. So, of course, the IRS is going to come after you because you're probably not filing the correct money for taxes. And they're all a bunch of hippies, and they're all living on the road, and they're probably reproducing with ladies who enjoy their company, and there's children popping up, and there's money to be paid. So I mean, it's probably kind of autobiographical at that particular point in their life.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for. Now, this one is kind of about money, but I just want to throw it. It alludes to paying your rent. So this is One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer by George Thorogood and the Destroyers, which Tim has probably played this song a million times in his life.
I most have certainly have played this. I mean, I think this is a song that was originally by John Lee Hooker, I believe.
That probably would that makes sense.
But like in the George Thorogood and the Destroyers back catalogue, I mean, you've got this and you've got Bad to the Bone, and there's about one or two others. I mean, I have a George Thorogood, the greatest hits of George Thorogood, and it starts off very strong, and then it takes a nosedive in the 12 tracks after those ones.
Yeah, I can't really name anything besides this song and Bad to the Bone, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I know in the song he had to tell the landlady he lost his job, so he didn't have the money for rent. Come next Friday or whatever. And the meaning I got from this song is pay your rent instead of buying one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer. It's a song to tell you to pay your rent instead of buying alcohol.
Yeah, I think that's a good life lesson. If you're a drinker, if you're a smoker, if you're a recreational substance user, that's all fine and good. Do what you like. It's your money. It's your time. I don't judge you. However, if you have rent to pay, I'd maybe prioritize that first.
It's a good life advice. I don't know if that's what they were going for with the song, but that's what I took from it, Tim. All right. So this one is a song I really, really like. It's from a band that I know Tim is familiar with. I'm curious to see if he knows this song. I have a feeling it might have been more popular in the UK, but I listen to this song pretty regularly. This song is Opportunities by the Pet Shop Boys.
Yes, this most definitely I've heard of. This song was used on a UK TV show theme. I think it was like the fashion show, or there was a TV show that used Opportunities as its theme music, and I can't remember which one it was. But the Pet Shop Boys, and the Pet Shop Boys, especially in this era, were huge in the UK, and Opportunities is a great song.
Yes, I listen to this song really regularly. If you've never heard it in America, I would say go seek them out because it's not like the Pet Shop Boys were as popular in the US, I would imagine. But basically, he's like, I've got the braids, you got the looks, let's make lots of money. That's the song. It's Opportunities, right, Tim?
It is.
He's taking the opportunity.
Well, if you have the Google Machina, will you just see?
I can.
I'm just curious if I remembered that correctly, that it was used for a TV theme, Opportunities.
All right, guys, let's do this. Opportunities, Pet Shop Boys TV theme song.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Did I remember it correctly, or did I just make that up?
You may have made it up, Tim. It was for a Tetris film.
Okay.
It was in a movie that I don't see anything, Tim. Apparently they wrote the song Confidential for Tina Turner, not that has anything to do with it.
Oh well, maybe I misremembered that, but around that era, they had some absolutely fantastic music. I mean, I like the song of those Domino Dancing. Mm-hmm. That's great. Suburbia is a great song. It's a Sin, West End Girls. I mean, there's some great music from the Pet Shop Boys, especially in their earlier years. But, they've continued to make great music, through the ages, and they're still making great music today.
Go West is another one that I really like. Yep. It's a Sin. Yeah, I mean, I would say, West End Girls is probably what they're known for most in the US. Probably their biggest hit here, I would think.
Yeah, and growing up, I had a album of theirs called Introspective, and it has like color bars on the front of it, and it was a remix album of sorts. And I used to love that album. And in fact, when I got back into buying records and CDs and stuff, I bought a vinyl copy of it because I loved it so much back when I had it back then.
Well, I mean, I think they're an underrated band. You don't hear much about them.
Yeah, maybe they're more UK centric. I mean, it surprises me because the amount of incredibly strong hits that they've had.
It's weird how that works, though. Sometimes things just don't get past the pond. And I'm not really. Sometimes I can't figure out why. Because there'll be like bands that are from the UK that became more popular in the US and then go back and become popular in the UK and vice versa. It's very interesting the way that works.
Yeah, certainly back then. I mean, now as we've discussed,
Yeah,
in the
it's
advent of
all.
YouTube and streaming and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't think there's that divide because I mean
Yeah.
you've got people loving country music in London, then you got people in the US liking certain genres of music that's traditionally only popular in the UK. I mean everything is everything now.
Yeah. Charlie quoted a Kate Bush song. It's all coming full circle.
Well,
Just the other day, he quoted a Kate Bush song, and I was like, where'd that come from? Because it's not really like him, but he knew it.
well, what was the Kate Bush song?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember now. I just remember going, did you just quote Kate Bush? Let's see here. I mean, it wasn't Running Up the Hill, which you'd be surprised. I think it was Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights. Now that is a absolute classic. I mean,
He listens to it pretty often.
yeah, there's a video of Wuthering Heights where she performs that on Top of the Pops, and traditionally on Top of the Pops, it's all you mime to track, but she's performing it live and she's playing piano and she's singing it. And I think she was like 19 at the time. And the way she addresses the camera, it's like,
Yeah.
she was born to do that stuff even at such an early age. And she's just amazing.
I love her. And yeah, I just thought it was funny because I think he said, I come home, I'm so cold or something like that. I was like, are you quoting the Kate Bush song? And he was like, maybe. I was like, where did that come from? But I forget because he gets on like these Enya tracks and stuff like when he's listening to music. So I imagine Kate Bush gets mixed in there in the playlist occasionally. But anyway. So, this is another band that I can say with full authority, I don't know has ever been talked about on this podcast, Tim.
Okay.
I do think you'll know this song, though, and you'll know the band, but it's not really something we've talked about. It's Roses Are Free by Fish.
So I'm familiar with the band Fish, Trey Anastasio. They're a jam band, and they pretty much were popular around the time. Well, you had the Allman Brothers because like the Grateful Dead, Jerry died, and then you had the Dead, and then Dead and Company, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you had the Allman Brothers out there on the road performing jam band music, and then you had Fish out on the road. And in many respects, Fish picked up a lot of the audience of the original Grateful Dead. The Allman Brothers did to some extent with their extended jams, but Fish are more in that kind of world of the Grateful Dead.
Yes.
Sort of psychedelic jam band type music.
I know like two Fish songs, and I was actually at one of their concerts because they performed with 311 and the Offspring. Fish did, but I didn't stick around for it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do know this song. But this is not the original. I didn't realize it's a cover. The original is from a band called Ween, Ween. No, I've never heard of them. But basically, in the song, he's talking about don't believe the florist when he tells you that the roses are free. The whole point of the song is very little things in life are free.
There we are. As I said, it's not a song that I'm familiar with. I've actually heard of Ween. I think they had an album called Chocolate and Cheese, if I remember correctly.
That's completely random, but I mean their name is Ween, so chocolate and cheese goes with it.
Well, there we are.
I'm assuming they're a UK band. Just the theory. But yeah, basically in the song it's like talking about different things and it's pretty much like nothing in life is free.
That's
Which
true.
is something we're all used to. All right, so this is a song I love. I had to put it in here because this song has been covered by everybody and their cousin. I prefer the original because I'm a Motown girl, but I did Money, That's What I Want, Barrett Strong. But you know, there's Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Doors, the Flying Lizards, all did a version of this song.
Oh, I mean, everyone and their brother has covered this song. I mean, you name it. I mean, I'm sure there's more than what you've just said in that list there.
That's just the ones I know off the top of my head. I think the Flying Lizards version is one that a lot of people like. Obviously, I prefer the Barrett Strong. I love the way and I love the piano opening to this song is probably one of the most iconic piano openings to me. And I also like how blunt he is. He doesn't go for the can't buy me love kind of thing, Tim, or money doesn't buy you happiness. He's like, no, just money. That's what I want. And I appreciate the honesty. And I appreciate when he's like, I know the best things in life are free, but you give them to the birds or bees. And then he goes, your love gives me such a thrill, but your love don't pay my bills. And I appreciate that so much when I hear this song. But I also really just love that. The lead into this song is cool. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Bum,
It's a
bum,
really
bum,
cool
bum,
song.
bum, and a bum, bum, bum,
I
bum,
can
bum,
see
bum,
why
bum,
you would be
bum.
so tempted to want to cover it, why everybody wants to cover it, because it's a fun song.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. Cool
Have you
song.
ever played this song, Tim, in real life? Do you know how to play this song?
I mean, it's a 1 4 5 12 bar blues progression. It's not terribly difficult to play. I don't think I've ever.
I like how he just knew that off the top of his head.
Well, it's just it's like
Yeah, that's true. I get it.
yeah, it's the same chords as Johnny Be Good and Maybelline and Great Balls of Fire and all
That
those
makes
songs.
sense.
It's
Yeah, it's
it's
the
the
same
same
intro.
same chord progression all the way through.
So there you go, guys. Tim's. So I mean, what you're saying is you could play it if you had to.
Yeah, I
I
mean, if
get
I pulled
that.
the guitar, I could wing it; it'd be fine. Though, Joy, breaking news! If I wish I had a siren sound effect like a morning zoo.
Okay, what's the breaking news?
Breaking news. Opportunities by the Pet Shop Boys
Oh,
was
got it.
used on a television show in the UK, BBC TV.
Oh, there we go. I didn't
the
see it when I looked.
it was called The Clothes Show.
Tim had to go hard on Google to find that one because it was
Yeah.
not at the top.
Yep.
The
And it was
results.
used on The Clothes Show from 1987 to 1995.
Okay, good. You weren't having a brain aneurysm.
I was sitting here processing all of the things that you were saying about that song.
And you're like, "There's
I
gotta
thought,
be."
I know I'm right. I know my brain had not let me down. I need to give it a goog. So that was breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to interject in the world of that song. But that's been hanging around since 1987, and I just want to put that one to bed.
Dang, you had to go far in the Google machine because it does not come up at the top. Tim's like, I've been thinking about this for a while, Joy. I had to find it. Because it says, okay, I guess if I would have clicked into maybe one of the ones where it says in TV shows. Now, do you know this show, Tim? Was
Yeah,
this a show you watched?
It was called The Clothes. It's called The Clothes Show.
The Clothes Show. Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it, Tim. Now we all know. I know that this is hot off the presses from what year was it? 1983?
1987.
That goes up there with my hot off the presses in 1929 a minute ago. All right. So the next one I did include, I had to. I had to because it's me. And we've talked about this song before, but when we're talking about money, this is probably the first song that comes to mind for me besides the one we just talked about. And this is Money Talks by AC/DC.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Classic AC/DC song. It has all the hallmarks of an AC/DC song, a repeating riff, a bass line that probably plays the same note all the way through. I mean,
Yes.
it's Angus strutting around in the video. I mean,
We got a great quintessential Angus Young riff throughout the whole song.
exactly. Probably some inappropriate lyrical content. I mean, what more do you want from AC/DC?
Well, it was their highest charting US single. I do know that. So it's not surprising that this is the first song that comes to mind for me. I mean, and it's pretty, if you have never heard the song, which I'd be shocked if you're listening to our podcast and you haven't heard the song, it's pretty self-explanatory. Money talks.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. I mean, fine hotels with big cigarettes, money talks.
Absolutely. I mean, it's got a classic video that goes with it. I'm surprised, though, that it was the highest charting, not like Back in Black or Thunderstruck
No,
or Heat
I Googled
Seeker.
it to do because I thought that too. You would assume Back in Black, let's be honest, or Shoot to Thrill, or You Shook Me All Night Long would be one that
Yeah.
I would instantly think. But no, apparently Money Talks is the highest charting US single for the Aussie legends AC/DC.
There we are. Fantastic. You cannot go wrong with Akadaka. All those songs sound basically the same, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And Tim's probably played every single one of them a million times. And it's like, what I can't hear Highway to Hell or Back to Black ever again, Tim. I can't.
Yeah, we in Rough Justice, we used to play Highway to Hell. We used to do Shook Me All Night Long. I think we may have done
Oh
Back
yeah, I
in,
don't need to hear that one either.
Yeah, we may have done Back in Black. We also used to do She's Got Rhythm.
Whole Lot of Rosie.
Yeah, but oh yeah, of course, Whole Lot of Rosie.
That's probably one that I would think is pretty high up there on the local band scene.
Yeah, Whole Lot of Rosie was a great song that we used to cover in Rough Justice, because Rough Justice had an era in the 90s and then had an era in the 2000s, and that was a song that we played in both eras, and it was a very popular addition to our set in both eras.
There we go. All right. Well, keeping on the money train, We're gonna go with "Money" by Pink Floyd.
There we are.
Another 1970s hit.
There we are from Dark Side of the Moon, a classic, and it has a cash register at the beginning of it as a
I
sound
mean, it
effect.
literally does. And I can, because that is an album that Charlie listens to nonstop, that cash register noise, Tim, lives rent free in my head. Money. That's all I hear when I think about that song. I mean, basically, they're quoted as saying, "Money, so this day, is the root of all evil. But if you ask for a raise, it's no surprise that they're giving none away."
There we
That was
are.
their quote about the song. And "grab that cash with both hands and make a stash" is a pretty good rhyming lyric to me, Tim.
Absolutely. Now, here's a question for you. So, this song has a cash register at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the UK TV program called Are You Being Served?
No, but is it like serving someone to go to court?
No. Are You Being Served
Okay,
was
well,
a
I went
quote
completely
unquote
different with that.
hilarious
Oh.
British TV show from the 70s, which was set in a department store called Wright Brothers, had John Inman in it. And he played a man that says, "I'm free." Do you remember that?
None
No?
of those things. Were you speaking English?
And then the
So
man
what
in
was the
charge
point
was
of the show?
the man was in charge was Captain Peacock.
What were they serving?
Well, it was a situation comedy set in a department store.
So like they would set people up in the store, like almost like
No,
just like with zany things, or was it a real store, like a game show, or was it like a show about a store?
no, it was a scripted comedy program.
Oh, for some reason when you started saying it, I thought it was like a reality TV show inside.
No,
Because that
no,
seems
no,
like
no,
something they
no,
would
no.
have done.
It's from the 70s. They didn't have reality shows in the 70s.
Fine, okay. I thought it was like Benny Hill happening inside.
Well, it was Benny Hill-esque humor, but scripted. And the only reason I mention it is that their theme tune was based around a cash register. That was why.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, I'm pretty sure that I've seen TV shows that "Money" by Pink Floyd was the theme song. I'm pretty sure there's been multiples.
There probably has been, but though Pink Floyd traditionally don't allow their music to be used for absolutely everything.
That's true. They're very stingy on that, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm going to get it a Goog now because I want to know if this was a theme show or if it was just used in it. TV song, teams. Okay, here we go.
Giving it a
Pawn
go.
Stars, but it definitely wasn't. I've heard this as a theme. Oh, we're going down a Reddit hole. Hold on, guys.
Can you find it, Joy? Is it there on the Google machine?
FX uses it in their trailers and has been a theme song in the opener several times. Oh, for that Pawn Stars show, Tim. Oh,
Ah.
the US version of The Apprentice, maybe? Nope. No. Okay.
I can give you a Pawn Stars fact.
The one in Vegas?
Yeah. So I have been to the shop in Pawn Stars, on the reality show. I've been to that store, and I have met Chumley.
Did you know he recently got arrested?
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. So,
Yeah.
but the interesting thing is, you go in the shop, and it looks exactly like it does on TV. It looks
Yeah.
because it's a working pawn shop. But
Yeah.
what you see filmed is actually in the back room, and in the back room, the TV production company have made an exact replica of the front of the shop at the back of the shop,
That makes sense.
and it's all lit and all set up for cameras. And the
And so
front of
you
the
hardly
shop,
ever see anybody else
Yeah.
walking behind them and stuff.
and the front of the shop is as it always was before they got famous. Now, when we got there, because it's in a very dodgy part of town, there's a bus that goes
Well,
from
it is a pawn shop, so
yeah, there's a bus that goes from downtown Vegas to the Strip, called the Deuce. And when you get on it, the bus conductor actually says, "If you're getting off here for the Pawn Stars shop, watch your step. This is not a good part of town." They even tell you that.
Tim still took the chance.
Well, as it happened, we were renting a Mustang that day, so I drove there. But we queued up to go into the shop. And when we were there inside, they made an announcement. They said, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Chumley has just pulled up in his Escalade and he'll be doing an appearance in 15 minutes. And but the thing is, they wouldn't let you meet Chumley unless you spent $20 in the shop. So we had to buy some merch so I could have a picture with Chumley from Pawn Stars.
I wonder they use this money song in all their promos. I just find that hilarious. But yeah, he apparently just give him a goop, guys. So I'm not going to talk about it on air, but he was recently arrested and he might be
Yeah.
in jail. I don't know.
I mean, sure that they've all become famous for this reality TV show in a pawn shop, but
Yeah.
that is a non-traditional business, shall we say, and
Yeah.
probably attracts people that of a slightly different walk of life from somebody who works a regular 9 to 5 job. So it doesn't surprise me there may be some shenanigans going on.
It's kind of like I was into, I don't watch a lot of reality TV shows, but every once in a while, Tim, they'll get me. And one that got me was the South Beach Tow, and it was people who towed people's cars. And let's just say not all of those were the nicest characters either.
The problem is with a lot of these shows, and I mean, even
They're
like the one that
fake.
you like, they're scripted to some
I
degree.
know.
And do you know
I
what really
know.
annoys me is like, because I don't ever watch that stuff, but like whenever you go into like the vets or something or a doctor's office and have a TV playing, it's always like the home improvement channel or something.
HGTV or whatever.
HGTV, and they're like, oh, they only have a budget of $50,000. Will they make enough money? It's like, of course they will, because the production company paid for everything and it's all worked out ahead of time. Of course they will.
The one that gets me, and the one that's always playing at my dentist, because they have a TV above your head at the dentist office for you to watch,
Hmm.
which half the time you can't even pay attention to because there's all kinds of other stuff going on. But anyway, is the one where it's like where they have to pick the house, like they give them three houses, they pick which one they want to move, House Hunters. And they've
Hmm.
got an international version of it too, which I've read that it's all staged as well. But it'll be like, I'm a school teacher, and then he collects bees for a living. Our budget is $7.9 million.
Yeah, I'm a dog walker, and my wife is an artist, and she paints watercolors. What's your budget? $3.7 million. Okay.
And you're like, wait, you mean I could make that much money being a dog walker? What did I go to school? Like, what in the world? Like,
Yeah.
it's always just something completely random. It'll be like, I poke holes in Tupperware for a living, and he happens to,
The
I don't know.
the old Tupperware poking job, hey?
And my friend's coming with me today, and and they'll be like, how much does a Tupperware person have? Oh, just $7 billion in downtown London. We're gonna look for a new flat. You're like, what?
Do
Because I like
you know
the
why, Joy? Because all those people are actors,
I
and the
know.
production companies already bought the house because they were going to renovate it and then sell it at the end for a profit. It's all contrived. Every piece of that is contrived.
But I will say, Tim, the reason I have watched the UK or the international version is I like to see the different kinds of housings in different countries because it does vary. I find that interesting, if that makes sense. That's the
Sure.
part that I like in it. Not necessarily all that. And I do love all the jokes, though, about it. It'll always be like a beekeeper making $7 billion a year.
Well, Joy, I can save you the hassle. Just go on rightmove.co.uk and look
Yeah.
at UK houses and how much they cost, and then you haven't got to see some actor pretending to be a beekeeper or as you put it, a Tupperware poker.
I don't know what that job entails, but let me tell you, it makes good money. Okay, I got three more songs. Let's just get this done with. All right, so the next one we're gonna go with is we already talked about that one. The For the Love of Money by the OJs from 1973.
Yes, this is an absolute stone cold classic. You cannot go wrong with the OJs. I mean, they're the band that bought you the Love Train, for goodness sake.
It is true. Now, what I did not realize though is the song. This is also a song that's been used, and I'll explain. This is why I brought this on this. Was apparently the song is directly ripped from the Bible verse, 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is the root of all evil. That's the Bible quote. But basically, bands like Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch and Boys to Men also used the song, and they made it more about like money. Whereas the OJs were trying to say money is the root of all evil. Like, do you know what I mean? They swapped it. And the
Hmm.
thing about it is if you heard this, it's got that opening where it just says the word money over and over and over a
Hmm.
thousand times. That's been sampled. And like, like the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch sampled that at the beginning of their songs and they cut the rest of the song out. So you don't realize that it's not about, it's just to make them seem like they have a lot of money. See what they did there, Tim?
Exactly. They flipped it around, but they ruined the original meaning of the song.
There you go. And it's your Bible verse, 1 Timothy.
There
Did
we
you know you
are.
had a Bible verse?
I'm not a religious person, but I'll take your word for that.
That's just what the internet said. Don't come for me, Bible people. I don't know for sure either. It says First Timothy 6:10. And if you've never heard that song, I mean, you have because it's been used 1,000 times
Of course,
everywhere.
absolutely.
If you don't recognize it, give it a Goog and you'll know. All right. Now, I could not do a money episode without putting this song in it because in some ways, while it's an amazing song, it's an amazing band, the irony is I don't agree with it. And this is Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles. You can buy me love. If you have a lot of money, I'll take it. We'll figure it out.
Well, there are companions for hire, shall we say? And if everyone's happy with that situation and no one's being forced into it and everyone's consenting, it's none of my business. You enjoy yourself.
I mean, they also had Taxman too. That's another one about money, of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken about Taxman and the solo and Paul McCartney and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, which is why I didn't bring that up. But as an American, I mean, Can't Buy Me Love might be the most, I don't know, like iconic, used in everything music song I could think of.
Well, they were being idealistic. They were talking about the concept of love. That's what it was, not not the cold practicalities of how that could work out.
I still think about though, Tim, when you told me that Ringo Starr made that joke about I think about this like regularly and it makes me laugh. Tim said in an episode a while back that Ringo Starr heard the lyrics of this song, John Lennon's, we can have peace if you want it or whatever. And he was like, no, we can't. Like it doesn't work that way.
It was Paul McCartney because
that's what it was.
After the Beatles broke up, Paul McCartney and John Lennon were not, the best of friends for a big period of time. And then he's also, he's all about, peace is available to everyone. Peace is available if you want it. The war is over if you want it. And Paul McCartney's like, no, it's not, you idiot.
That's what it was. I said Ringo, but I think about that regularly because that's exactly how I would react in that situation. And I'd be like, no, just because I want the war to be over doesn't mean it's over.
Yeah, the one that Ringo said that was funny. So Ringo has this thing on his birthday where he wants everyone to say peace and love at like midday on his birthday all around the world. That's like a thing that he's into that he does every year. Mm-hmm. And then there was a live stream coming from somewhere in Los Angeles. I watched it on Instagram when everyone was getting ready to go peace and love. And they were going to do the countdown. And he's like, "Oh, we're going to do the countdown now." And then someone said, "Oh, we would look at this clock." He said, "No." He said, "I think we'll use my watch. It's probably the most expensive."
I mean, at least he got it.
Just made me laugh.
Yes, I don't know why, but I think about that whenever I think of John Lennon now. I think of, no, it's not. I don't know why, but like that lives rent free in my head. All right, I got one more song. I had to end it like this. It's a band me and Tim talk pretty heavily about, and it is Rich Girl by Hall & Oates.
There we are. Classic Hall & Oates, the estranged power couple that is Hall & Oates. John Oates is in fact going to be performing at the Harvester, which is a venue very close to us in Rocky Mount, which is a very small room. John Oates will be there. It's like music and thoughts of John Oates. He's going to talk between songs and do stuff. But as we know, Daryl Hall is a Bond supervillain, and the pair of them are estranged at this point.
Yeah, I would go see John Oates, though. I wouldn't see Daryl Hall.
Exactly.
If they came together, I might.
Yeah, I'm not so keen about giving Daryl Hall any of my money.
No, because it goes to his weird mansion back in his house where he kills deers to keep them away, and I don't support that.
Exactly, and we'll go back to that video that I saw on Peacock of Hall & Oates at some theatre or so it's somewhere in Sydney, Australia, where there's like bad feedback all the way through it, and he just looks angry, and there's no interaction with him and John Oates. It's very weird.
Very strange. But with that being said, they make good music. Now, I will say the funny part about Rich Girl is Daryl Hall really sounds like he's upset at this girl because she can rely on his old man money. I think there's a lot of jealousy happening there just because he wasn't born rich.
There we are. But I mean, I understand he's very well off at this point, but he's not happy about it.
He's just not a happy person.
No, I mean, I saw a video recently. It was a Hall & Oates song that they were doing. It was Family Man, in fact, and it was from Sammy Hagar's Cabo Wabo Cantina in Mexico, which is the original Cabo Wabo, and he's up on stage jamming with his band, and then Daryl Hall was there, and they were trading off verses and all this kind of stuff, and they were singing it together. And I'm thinking, there is a guy on this stage, Sammy Hagar is the happiest man alive. He looks fantastic. He looks healthy. He's super happy. He was in Van Halen, but if you ever meet him at any point, he's a super fun, chilled guy. And then you have Daryl Hall, angry Daryl Hall on the other side of the stage. Very unlikely combination.
Well, did you know at one point Daryl Hall literally put a temporary restraining order against John Oates?
Weird.
It's to keep him from he was trying to sell his share of their enterprise or whatever. And to stop the share, to block the legal proceedings, he put a temporary restraining order against. Now, what I find weird about that, Tim, is I have heard horrible stories about females, males, everybody trying to get a restraining order over really serious terms and they can't get them. And he can get it over this. Is it because he's Daryl Hall? I don't know.
It's because you've got high-priced lawyers and money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that his attorney went in hard to get it, but it just seems really silly to me. And no wonder John Oates doesn't want anything to do with him. He put a temporary restraining order against him. I wouldn't want anything to do with you either.
It's a very weird situation.
Well, with that being said, maybe money is the root of some evil, but I don't believe it's the root of all evil.
There we go.
And if you want to give me money, I will take it. All right, I'm just kidding. What do you want to say to the people, Tim?
I will leave you with this thought. Money can't buy you happiness, but it will buy you a big old yacht and you can pull up right beside it.
And I'd much rather be crying in my mansion than the alternative. All right, bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye-bye.
To find me out another day to come.